Hi, welcome to the Dairy Hour podcast, where rural charm meets personal growth. Join us as we milk every moment for wisdom, self-improvement, and mental wellness. I'm your host, Val Levine, a rural dairy farming mom with a passion for filling hearts while never forgetting to fill my own cup. Get ready for insightful conversations, empowering tips, and a splash of fun and laughs, of course. Let's cultivate growth, nourish our minds, and embrace the journey together. This is the Dairy Hour podcast, where every episode is a breath of fresh air and the inspiration you need to be your best self. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Dairy Hour podcast. I am your host, Val Levine, and I am joined today by Jodi, Lynch, Findley. Jodi, how are you today?
I'm fantastic, Val. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Me too. I'm very excited about this episode. It should be a really great, inspiring episode for you guys. Jodi is also a fellow member of the Rural Podcast Network. Shout out to Krista and all that she does for us there. We were just talking before we started recording about what a great network it is. So shout out to them. Jodi, if you want to start by giving us a little brief intro of you.
Sure. And thanks again, Val. I was so excited to be on the Dairy Hour with you today. Thrilled to kind of talk about my story and get to spend a little quality time with you. But I am now just, 16 months, call it, into my entrepreneurial journey. I am a horse kid from Maryland that went on to Western Kentucky University for my ag degree and have spent the last almost 25 years in the ag industry, primarily in sales roles, Val. I worked for 6 years with Purina. I spent 10 years with Zoetis, so both feed and nutrition and animal health from the pharmaceutical side. And then a year and a half ago almost, I started a brand new brand called Jodi Speaks Life, where I just am really passionate about, especially undergraduate students, but young people who want to pursue careers in and around ag and equine. So I spend my time now also podcasting like you and speaking, and really trying to support not only the young people, but especially the organizations that are seeking and employing these young people, and really trying to motivate, inspire, and empower them through the skills that I believe are primarily missing, being communication and connection. So driving some of those soft skills and really the human connection in today's fast-paced space. So that's a little of what I'm doing.
I love it. And you are based out of where now?
Yeah, that sometimes ends up being a laughably comical question because I do split my time. My husband and I there's really three places, but we primarily split between Kentucky, Maryland, and then also I try to run away in our camper to Florida in the winter some as well. But we really do kind of split our time between Maryland and Kentucky.
She's a lady in all different places, which I guess when you're traveling to speak and do things like that makes it easy. So that's always good. So Jodi, I'm really excited to hop into this episode. Do you want to share a little bit about what your daily routine looks like, and how that influences, how you take care of your mindset?
Yeah, and I think that's a funny question for most of us, right? A daily routine, does it exist? Is it attainable to have a daily routine? But yes, I think that really taking ownership of what is our daily routine. I know that, you wanted to talk a little bit about mindset. I've spent so much time on that as I've made the transition from a corporate career into an entrepreneurial career. So for me, it really is coming into how do I spend my time productively? I don't need to just be busy. And I think, Val, that was a little bit of why I felt called to make the transition away from corporate, because I knew that I was really feeling like, listen, I can help other young women, especially in the mindset of productivity versus busyness. We live in a time, in a space, in a world that is just celebrating busyness. Oh my gosh, I have back-to-back calls today. Oh my gosh, I have this and I have that. And we want to talk about how busy we are. But I believe that when we take ownership of our time, then we become more productive and therefore we become a little bit more peaceful. And so that's where, for me, the mindset routine for me, I took ownership of my mornings first and foremost. I'm a huge morning person to begin with. That probably, I think one of the podcast episodes I did where I talked about how I milked cows through college, that really had an influence on that. But taking ownership of my morning and not getting up and getting directly on the computer, there's number one. Right? I think the computer can suck the life out of us a little bit. And so getting up and spending the first part of my morning, whether that is, for some people like me, it's prayer, right? Making sure that I have prioritized that. I didn't prioritize that in the past. So how do I start my mornings? Is it prayer? Is it reading? Is it writing, journaling, whatever that looks like, slowing down just a little bit, and then moving a little bit more purposefully through the day. What are the top 3 things that I want to accomplish? And actually scheduling in time for outside, what I call playtime. I'm going for a walk or, whatever that looks like. And, do I have a plan for dinner when I am in town or we're both in town? And, so just taking ownership of our time. And probably what I would say to summarize that is I had a great friend who really put it into perspective when she said, listen, we have 24 hours in a day. That's 3/8. If you take 3/8 and say that, quite frankly, 8 of those belong to your work and 8 of those we probably should be sleeping and 8 of those are yours, how are you going to spend them? Well, that gives you like 16 hours of work time and us time. And that's really eye-opening to think about how we're going to take ownership of that time. Hopefully that answers your question.
It does. I like that thought of breaking up the day into 3 different sections because it definitely resonates with you when you sit down and look at the big picture of, being in a position like you are, like I am, where we have to be really self-starting and, it's having those accomplishments, that's on us. We don't have a boss sitting there saying, hey, I need this on my desk by 3. Like we have to kind of go out of our way and make sure that we're doing what we need to do, making sure that it's organized and having that momentum to get it done, but then also not dragging ourselves down through the weeds and just basically not accomplishing anything for the day. So I definitely really like the way that you break that up. So what are the top 5 tips that you recommend for someone that just wants to work on improving their day-to-day mindset?
Yeah, this is a great question, Val, because I do believe in getting really organized about it. We have to think about what that means to us. And a lot of times I talk about building a triangle, right? So the triangle of our lives, it's the most maybe structurally sound shape we can pick, but we all focus on our knowledge and our skills. Whether it's working on the farm, whether it's going to school to get a degree, it's clinical skills, whatever that is, we have skills and we have knowledge. And then what we're missing is this foundational piece at the bottom that holds it all together. And that's our mindset. That's who we are and how we do it. And just the absolute foundation of everything that we do comes from our ability to manage our mindset. So if you think about it that way, that's how important I believe that it is. Tips that I share often are number 1 is mindset over skill set. So just like I described, right? We're all oftentimes working to improve knowledge and skills in some area of our lives or another, but knowing that it is our mindset that is foundational to that ability that we have to do the things that we're meant to do in life. Each of us is meant to do different things. And so our mindset has all the influence over what we do, how we do it, and the people that we share our life with. So number 1 is mindset over skill set. Number 2, what's your why? Now, for some of us, we've heard this time and again, and there are plenty of TED Talks, and we can go read Simon Sinek's book on what's your why. But I don't want it to become cliche because it is hugely important, when we are able to take the time to figure out what it is we're meant to be doing. I think that that really leads to the inspiration of our lives. I think that inspiration comes from loving other people and, our ability to know who we're meant to love personally and professionally, right? I don't just mean like, oh, I love my husband, but, it's like, why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing with my life, my time? So I'll encourage you to spend some time figuring out what's your why. And so for me, the whole Jodi Speaks Life, living inspired, fulfilled, and empowered, being what the life acronym is because I am here to pour my experiences and my energy and my passion back into the young person who wants to pursue careers in this industry, because we all know the ag industry is the place to be, and we want them here. We want them to know the many opportunities that are out here. So what's your why? Why do you do what you do? And I think that has a lot to do with finding the people that you connect with, and just kind of upskilling always to look for, how can I be a better version of Jodi today than I was yesterday? So that's number 2, figure out what's your why. And number 3 for me is significance over success. And that really means, Val, what do you do, right? And so are we chasing money? Because we all know, or I hope that we do, maybe it's that we all start to figure that out at some point in our lives, that if we're chasing money, it's never enough. And so what is our significance? That's where my word fulfillment comes in. I talked a little bit about when we know our why, that's the inspiration that we get from loving on other people. But the fulfillment comes in what we do, because I believe fulfillment comes from serving other people. How do we serve them? How are we giving of our time and our treasures and our talents? How are we serving other people? So what do you do? And is it focused on significance, or is it focused on the worldly definition of success? Number 4, I would say for me, is the authenticity of being uniquely you. And again, we hear that word, but I think that, boy, do we live in a world that is not encouraging authenticity as much as it is encouraging comparisonitis. I use that word on purpose. And we are constantly, I think, seeing and hearing messages subconsciously and perfectly consciously to say, we're not enough, and we need to be more of this, or we need to be better at that. We're striving for something. What are we striving for? What are we doing? And do we really know who we are? Like, be you, authentically you. I am a little bit of a lot, as I like to say. I'm too much for some people. But, the more authentically me that I decide to be and I put out there, the more I attract the right things and the right people at the right time for the right reasons. And that, I think, ultimately is the goal. And so I'll encourage our listeners to really focus on, what are your core values and who are you at the core? Connection for me, adventure, enthusiasm. Those are some of the core values that come to mind when we spend some time, really understanding who we are. I think that's just an important step towards managing this mindset and getting a hold of, what we have to contribute to the world, which is the goal. And number 5, I'll never apologize for getting on this soapbox, but, listeners, here comes a little bit of a soapbox. I want you to define your life balance. My soapbox is that I think the term work-life balance is total crap. And I just believe that when you have the term work-life balance, it's combative, right? We're pitting work and life against each other, and that's not the way it works. And especially out here in rural America, that certainly isn't the way it works, right? So really defining what roles we have, Val, in our lives. Yes, I'm a speaker, I'm a trainer, I'm an entrepreneur. But you know what? I'm also, I like to consider myself an above average wife, right? My husband might agree some days, But that's one of my roles in life, is being an above average wife and being an exceptional dog mom and being a cool aunt. And those are all roles. And that's life balance. It is not work-life balance, it's life balance. Balance in itself is fairly unattainable for the most part. And so we just have to know some days it's going to be 100, and some days it's going to be, 90, 10, 50, 50, whatever it works out to be. But we just have to let ourselves attain some life balance and not let the world make it too combative. So I know I kind of ran through those, again, those are the 5: mindset over skill set. What's your why? Significance over success, which is your what. Your authenticity is your who, and define your life balance.
I love those. And there was even some little tidbits that as you were talking about them, I'm like, yes, I need to probably, go back and revisit this and make sure I keep that in check. But I do love that you described yourself as a lot of a person, because that's how my personality tends to be as well, which I think is why I'm so drawn to you. And when I see your stuff, I'm just like, yes, that's definitely someone that I'm drawn to, because I tend to be a lot too. And one of the things that I've really been doing just in life in general is finding those people. And, at 35 years old, I have friends that I've been friends with for a long, long time. Some of those friends grow with you, some grow without you, but finding those people that just love you for who you are, you don't have to tone back. They'll be, they'll match your excitement on something. Those are your people. And that's one of those things that even at 35, I'm figuring out, and those people that don't want to match or think that I'm being too loud or too much, I don't need them in my life. So why do I bother making time for them? So that was one of those things that I really, really resonate with. And I love hearing you say that as well. So let's hop into, when it rains, it pours. When you're having just one of those days, and everyone has them, one of those days where you're just like, my gosh, if another thing goes wrong, especially if you have a farm or animals or kids, it's just one of those days and you're just had enough. What are some things that you do to help just get yourself through instead of just throwing a pity party?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, Val, that you say instead of throwing a pity party, so let's just run with the P words here. And I'm going to say we've got to pray and play. I think that those are the 2 things for me that come to mind on those days. And you are right. We have them. There are pity party days, and maybe you set a rule for yourself where you can, spend 5 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever it is, in the bathroom, and you can have yourself a little pity party. And then it is time to pull your big girl pants up, and it is time to pray and play. I do think that sometimes you just walk away. You walk away from the computer, you walk away from whatever it is you're doing. For us, it's getting outside and making sure that, when we walk outside and see kind of the life we get to live, and you got cows or you got horses, you got dogs, you got the woods, you got the fields, whatever that is, go outside and enjoy it, and it's kind of forced fun, maybe is the way to put it. Sometimes you have to force yourself to have fun when you're not in the mood for it. So that would probably be my answer to that. It's never easy. The other thing is your people. So again, just picking kind of those P words, if mine are pray and play, and your people matter. So exactly to your point, we choose the people we spend our time with, and they are so darn important to those moments, those days, those seasons, those struggles. And not everyone gets it, especially for some of us who were maybe raised in a world that doesn't totally understand entrepreneurialism or, the career that we have or whatever it is. We do have some old friends that are just not in the same space that we're in, and that's okay. But we better darn sure have some people that really get it and that you're able just to drop that text to, or pick up the phone and call, or, there are some days where it's just like, let's take a ride. Let's go. I need a drive, or whether it's, sitting on the porch, having a cold one or whatever it is, and you cry it out or whatever you need to do. So I'd add that, I guess: pray, play, and people.
And then cry it out if all else fails.
You got it. Sometimes we're just got to cry it out. And sometimes, Val, I think young people need to hear that from us. They look, at people that they see that are doing things they're interested in doing, and have jobs that they think they want to have, with organizations they want to work for, and all these things. And they see perfection, because in today's world, we're trained to see the social media highlight reel, if you will. And I am very quick to share with young audiences the difficulties, whether that's work now or work then. My first year with Zoetis, it was freaking tough. I earned that job, but I wasn't qualified. I had a lot to learn. And I am quick to say, let me tell you, it was one of the hardest years of my life, personally and professionally. It challenged my marriage. I'm a perfectionist, and a lot of the pressure was my own, but I cried. I cried a lot. People need to hear that. We cry. Everybody cries.
Yes. And I just love, and I still look back, I've alluded to the fact, obviously, that I'm 35 and not a kid anymore, even though I still feel like I am most times. But it is funny because, and this is such a term that you hear all the time, but you're like, haha, that's funny. But when you're 18 or 20 and trying to figure it out, you look and you're like, she's 35, she's got it all figured out. I don't have a clue. I just kind of pray day to day, let's just get through this. And I think this looks like a good direction to go today. Sometimes it's like a whole thing, just I thought that 35-year-olds, you're old, you've got it all figured out, the world's questions are answered. And now I'm just like, did 35-year-olds when I was a kid, did they actually have it figured out, or are they still just winging it like I am? So as long as you're happy, I guess.
Yes, we are just winging it. And so from a 45-year-old, Val, I've got 10 years of winging it on you. And I'll say, you're just making this crap up as we go. We're just making it work. That's what I call grit. When we're just willing to keep going, persevere and keep on going, that's the grit. So yes, no, we don't have it all figured out. It might look like we do sometimes, but we're just out here just gritting along, getting it done.
I love it. That's one of those things that's just funny. You just look and you're like, man, if I knew then what I knew now, or what I know now, there we go.
Yes.
It is so cliche and funny, but it's true. So here we are. We're living it.
We're living it.
You mentioned earlier about some of the habits that you do to help keep yourself in the mindset. Let's explore those habits a little bit more, if you don't mind.
Yeah. And so I kind of talked about, owning my mornings. That's probably one of the things I'm most proud of in 2023 was I really made a very intentional effort to own my morning time. So, whatever that looks like for you, and, dairy mornings for you are probably a little earlier than mine, whatever that looks like. And so for me, it is, up by 5:30 and having about an hour to myself. And that definitely has really centered me, if you will. And I actually, even have a group that I do a Bible study with on the Bible app. So that's just part of my morning routine. So morning routine, I think, is hugely important. I am trying, Val, to be a better journaler. That doesn't come naturally. And so I do, better some days than other days, but that's something that I do try to spend some time on as well. And then the physical aspect, I am quick to say, I don't want to go to the gym. I would rather just, be milking cows, working cattle, riding horses. When I was in college, the best shape of my life, of course. That's what we need to look back on when we're 35 and 45. You know what I miss? I miss the body I had in college when I was milking cows, riding horses, and slinging feed sacks every day. And I don't want to have to go to the gym, but I do at least want to, I don't want to be a skinny girl, but I want to be a strong girl. So that's, you know, like that was definitely what I decided was I have this love affair with food. It's one of my favorite things. And it's one of my favorite hobbies, eating. There, you know, like you talk about my activities, you know what? I love to eat. I love to eat with people that I love. I love food. That's one of my activities, eating. But that also means that I need to be physically active. And when we are entrepreneurs, what people don't always see is the amount of time that you spend on the computer and writing or practicing a speech or, you know, podcasting and recording. We're sitting and we are just so much more sedentary than we were when we were in production ag and doing all the time. So the physical activity becomes pretty important. So I'll even just the other day, Tuesday of this week, it was pouring down rain. And I tried to, you know, ride my bicycle on Tuesdays and Thursdays and do a hike on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sometimes it works that way and sometimes it doesn't. But, you know, an hour a day for physical activity, whatever. It was pouring down rain. I went out on the bike and I laughed at myself, right? I was soaking wet, laughed at myself, but I did it. And so I think that's an important lesson as well, like doing those hard things, whether that's hard or not. It's not really hard to go ride your bicycle for an hour, but it was raining and I could have easily said, meh, nah, I don't think I want to do that today, but I did it. Put it on your calendar, put it on your to-do list, whatever it is. Do the things, do the hard things, because doing hard things does make life richer. And I believe that. So it's the morning routine. It's putting the time in for physical activity. And then here's another one of those cliche words that our society wants to talk a lot about, and that's boundaries. What are your work hours? If you're working from home, like the pandemic just amplified really poor habits that some of us already had. The work is never done, never. And so there's always something we can be doing. But how many hours a day are we productive? And what are your work hours? So whether or not your computer is at home or these dang phones, which are the worst invention ever and the best invention ever, right? Like it's a love-hate. But I listened to a podcast very recently about a guy who's a very incredible entrepreneur who literally has nothing on his phone other than the ability to make a phone call and a text message. No email, no nothing, no social, all the things. But I think what that speaks to is how we have to set some of those boundaries. And what are our boundaries? When are we done work? For some of us, we need to do that. Some boundaries need to be drawn in sand. Some need to be built with bricks. And I would say that comes back to our life balance, right? What are your roles in life? And are you present when you need to be present? Are you present as a spouse? Are you present as a parent? Are you present as an employee? Are you present as a boss? What is it that you're doing? When are you there? And when are you present? Put the phone down. So that's another thing I'm working on. I sent my husband a text this week that was like this data that says we will spend 20 years of our lives on our phone. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was horrified. Again, I'm getting off on these little, you know, squirrel trails like I tend to do, but I really just am saying, own your time.
Yeah. You talk about that, the 20 years on your phone thing. I actually saw that going around on social media as well. And I was like, geez, it's terrible. That is scary to think about. 100%.
So scary.
And yes, I mean, yeah, it's mind blowing because that's something that this generation is getting that other generations didn't have. And that's a huge thing to be considerate of and, you know, make a conscious effort to maybe not spend 20 years on your phone because the saying like you've been on your phone for ages. Well, it's coming true. It's coming true. So, and that's,
yes.
And again, that's just 20 years of lack of interaction with face-to-face human interaction, which is something that you need hands down. Just, it's so important.
Yeah. That is what I am so devoted to now. It's that connection. Like I just talk about connections used to just happen. they don't happen anymore like they used to, because we're not looking up, we're not making eye contact, we're not seeking connection. And we are in a world that is just moving way too fast. And again, we have to go slow to go fast sometimes. And that's what I mean by taking ownership of our time and our presence, and really acknowledging how we are spending our time, what we're doing with it, and who we're spending it with.
100%. And it's funny that you mentioned that you're not a gym person. I have found my calling with going to a gym, but I also don't like to put that effort. I won't put that effort into like forcing myself to go for a walk, forcing myself to go for a bike ride. Like, that's just not something that I will do. Like, even just a workout at home, like I'll be like, oh no, I really have to do this other thing, so I just won't do it. Whereas I have my people that go at a certain time, we hold each other accountable, we show up. And the really cool thing is I get a nice varied workout. I don't have to think about like what I'm going to do that day. I show up, they're like, do this, this, and this. And I'm like, yes, I can do that. And it's just, that's something that's worked really well. But that just goes to show that you need to find that move your body part. You have to find what works for you as a person, because yes, going to a boot camp style gym like I do is not for everybody. Not everybody likes to be told what to do and told, how to do it. Some people do just like that nice relaxing walk. Some people like to do yoga. Some people like to do Pilates. Then there's boxing and, gymnastics. I don't know what other ones I'm missing, but it is just funny. But if you don't know what works for you, that's one of those things you need to take the time to explore what works for you, or find that friend group that is there for you, that's going to hold you accountable, that's going to help you, do the things. Because if you don't have that accountability, whether you can hold yourself accountable or you just have people that help you, that's not going to get you anywhere. So I just wanted to make a little note of that, and I really enjoyed that. Any last thoughts from you, Jodi, on mindset before we move on to the more fun segment?
I don't think so. I love the point that you made there. And I think the other thing about that is connection, right? That's what I love about what you're doing and going to the gym. And that's probably just something to acknowledge from a rural perspective as well. I think it can be challenging, where how much time is that going to take out of your day of, going to the gym and being with the right people. Make it part of your week. So to your point, I think that can be a really rewarding social connection. But no, at the end of that, I think that mindset, for me, that kind of covers it.
Good. I love it. Yeah, and that's one of those things I do. I schedule it right in. I know what my time slot is that I enjoy going. So I try to schedule things so that it does not interfere with that, so that it's not like I have a meeting. Oh, I have an appointment. I really need to do this. No, that is my time I set aside for me. And I've just noticed how much more, I've been going for 1.5 years now. And I notice how much more productive that I am throughout the day after I move my body. I enjoy moving my body in the morning and then getting down to business throughout the day. I don't think if I did my workout at, 4 or 5 in the afternoon, I don't think that I would enjoy it. And I don't think that I would see that productiveness that I get. So I do love it. So let's hop into some rapid fire questions, which is always one of my favorite parts of the podcast, just because it helps us get to know you a little bit better. Side note beforehand, I need to know what you do as far as being a horse girl.
Oh,
What's
yes.
your go-to?
So the go-to anymore, the easy answer to that is I just love a good trail ride or working cattle. And I don't ride nearly enough anymore. I don't make time for it. But I grew up loving to run fast and jump high. So I was an eventer growing up, and then ran off to Western Kentucky University, where I rode on the Intercollegiate Horse Show Association and rode both English and Western. And then really since then, I haven't been competitive in any way. My first job out of college was actually at Kansas State University with the Women's Equestrian Program, helping to put that together. But now I love some good time in the saddle with friends. And usually that is collecting cattle, working cattle, doing something like that. And that makes me happy, and I don't do it enough.
See, so you should this is your sign that you should do it more often. So I used to just show in 4-H, and now I'm more into barrel racing and doing stuff like that. And another little side note, because these little squirrel trails are quite fun, I went to Western Kentucky in early November, and I actually bought a horse from down there. So
yes,
if you're wondering, it's
was it at a horse sale at
way.
the university?
No, it was a private sale that I found him on Facebook, but 18 hours to Henderson, Kentucky from here, in case anyone was wondering.
Right? Oh my gosh, I know exactly where you were, in Henderson, Kentucky, but yes, that is a long road trip, and an even longer road trip back loaded.
Yes, thankfully we dropped him off 12 hours into the trip, and he stayed there for a little bit because he was not started. So we let someone that knew what they were doing do that, and I got him once some of the kinks were out. So
how exciting!
Fun little side notes. So yeah, shout out to Henderson, Kentucky. Apparently we're doing that today,
right?
So let's hop into some rapid fire questions. I did myself a favor because I always tend to use the same one. So I printed, for those that you can see, I printed out this nice little list of rapid fire questions so I can get some new ones in my mix. What is your favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving.
What purposes?
Food, family, fun. See, I listed food first, right? So I love that it has not been overly commercialized by our commercialization society. And so I love that it lasts a day. And if you're real lucky, you get a long weekend out of it. And it's all about your food and your family. And there's no concentration on gifts. And so kids just get together and play. And we tend to play and enjoy each other's company. That's why I love Thanksgiving.
I like it. Fun fact, we raise turkeys for Thanksgiving, and I don't like turkey.
I'm not a huge turkey fan either. I would definitely, yep, it's my least favorite protein.
Thank you. See, we've got this in the bag. I can do without turkey for the rest of my life. I eat it. When it's served to me, I eat it. But if not, I'm like, meh, don't need that.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Give me the beef. Beef all day long.
Yes, you and me both. What's your favorite childhood memory?
A childhood memory. Gosh, these are going to be hard, Val. My favorite childhood memory is my grandmother. And so that would be everything with her. But I will tell you that she was a yard sailor. And so some of our listeners might not know what that means in today's world. But honestly, on Friday night, I lived to spend time with my grandmother, and she was my favorite person in the whole entire world. And so on Friday, we would get the paper, and her and her friend, Miss Joyce. So it was Peggy and Joyce and Jodi. And we would have the paper kind of with everything circled, where we were going to go. And essentially that was my initial route planning. For anyone in sales, we route plan. Well, I learned to route plan by yard sale route planning, and we were early birds, right? Some of those ads say no early birds. We didn't go there because we started at, 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. We had our little thermos and our breakfast, and I had my fanny pack with some money in it. And I, got to learn how to buy, sell, negotiate. All of my life skills came from yard sailing with my grandmother and Miss Joyce.
I love that memory, and that's really, really cool that you have those memories. And hey, it gave you some life experience too, which is just wonderful. So between the holiday and the yard sailing and grandma, now I've thought of something, my favorite Thanksgiving memories growing up my grandma used to get these cling-on things for the window.
Yes.
And she had like the little pilgrims, but then there was hats you could put on them, and there was the turkey, and you could set up little scenes. And my cousins and I, we would sit there for hours setting up these scenes and moving them around. My gosh, that was back, like, window clings, I feel like these days they last for like a year and, you know, one like season and then they're done. But those window clings, God, they must have been 15 years old when we finally stopped using them, or they just wouldn't stick to the window anymore. But that was one of those Thanksgiving memories. We'd sit there and play with the pilgrims and the turkey on the window cling. So
yes, I love it.
My fun little tidbit there. So what's your favorite dessert?
So I'm not a big sweets person. I'll start by saying that. And I'll give you two answers here. There's nothing Jodi enjoys more than being out to eat with some of my favorite people. And if there are people that want to order dessert, my favorite line to the waiter is, I'll have a cocktail. Like that, you know, I'm going to have a cocktail for my dessert. And that's what I do. So there's my favorite dessert. If we're being real honest here, Val. But my other I would say anything strawberry. So strawberry shortcake, anything strawberries, like, you know, where we are now, we live very close to all the Amish. And so I just started, you know, I've just picked up strawberries yesterday. And so anything strawberry would be my favorite. And then I lied when I told you I just had two answers, because here's a third answer. My third answer is my weakness, even though I don't really love sweets, is the 4 holiday Reese's editions. And that is the original Easter egg, the heart for Valentine's Day, the Christmas tree for Christmas, and the pumpkin for Halloween. Those 4 Reese's, if I'm an impulse buy at the register 4 times a year, and that's when those 4 Reese's specialty, you know, thing, it's the right ratio of chocolate to peanut butter. And, you know, I'll try to get off that squirrel note, but 4 times a year you can find Jodi buying something at the register. If I walk into some store and see those things, I can't help myself. And then they'll ask, there's like 2 for $1. I don't need 2. Yes, I don't need 2. Don't try and sell me 2. Don't try and upsell me, because I only need 1. If I get 2, I'll eat them both.
I mean, they're not stupid with their marketing, that's for sure. Those are definitely a favorite in my house as well. And same with marshmallow eggs, marshmallow Santas, marshmallow hearts. Also my favorites. Yeah. So, yep, the good things in life, right?
Exactly.
What's your favorite road trip?
Any road trip. I am a road tripping queen. I can be known as Gypsy Jodi. So we talked about that, how I like to kind of split my time. And when I talk about going to Florida, I go down there and we take our camper, and I kind of live out of our camper. So I love, love, love a road trip. And I think that was one of the takeaways, even coming out of the pandemic, Val, was that all of a sudden, when I was spending too much time alone, too much time sitting, I realized how much I missed driving. So especially after, 15 or 20 years in a sales career in animal health, our office is our truck. Road trips for me, last night I went to the grocery store. That's a road trip. That's a road trip in my mind. Like, I got road trip music or podcasts. So like, my favorite road trip is anytime I am going somewhere for some adventure to see people that I love.
There. She's a road tripping kind of gal. I guess I asked you the right question. I am a road tripper.
Yes.
I love it. So one of the other things that I like to do is I have guests that have been on the podcast previously leave like a deep thinking question for a future guest, and they don't have any say in who it goes to, etc. So when you were younger, is this where you saw life taking you? Or if not, where did you see life taking you?
Oh, that's a good one. It's a good one for me because I spend so much time telling our young people that they have no idea what they're going to be doing in 10 years. So no, I had no idea. My high school ag teachers, FFA advisors will blame them for this career of mine 25 years later. But did I have any idea? Absolutely not. Did I have a passion for ag because they poured their hearts into me? Yes. FFA is the reason that I am where I am doing what I do. And so I don't know that I can go back and say, what did I see myself doing? I think there was a hot minute that I thought I might be an ag teacher because I was, so grateful to them for pointing me in a direction. Let's face it, I would not have been a very great ag teacher at the high school level. Maybe I would have the patience to do that now, but I certainly wouldn't have then. I belonged in industry, and that's where I have thrived. So I've had a couple of dream jobs, between Purina and Zoetis especially, and now getting to do what I'm doing. But no, I had no idea where I would be. And I think the majority of our young people have no idea. We think we do, right? And we think we might know, but the challenge there, Val, is we have no idea the opportunities that are out here. We have this tunnel vision, or we have our blinders on of the opportunities we think are out here. But the more you do and the more people that you meet, the more opportunities you find. And you're like, oh my gosh, like that's a job. I could do that. And so no, I had zero idea.
See, I feel like that question was left just for you.
I agree.
I love it. So I love my guests to leave that little bit of inspiration, that little bit of motivation that drives them to be the best that they can be. And I'm curious to hear what yours is.
I guess I think immediately of a quote, Val, that I heard very early in my career, and I was sitting in an audience, and it was a really dynamic speaker who shared this quote, and I never forgot it. I've repeated it often. I've printed it. I've written it. It's, in the front of notepads and journals, but the quote is, watch your thoughts, for they become your words. Watch your words, for they become your actions. Watch your actions, for they become your habits. Watch your habits, for it becomes your character, and watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. And that is a guiding light for me. And I almost, as I say, kind of starting my day in prayer and things like that, I've almost kind of turned it into one of my prayers where I'm like, Lord, please guide my thoughts, my words, my actions, and my energy. And so I repeat that to myself often. And it's a quote that I think drives me. It's a quote that inspires me to be a better version of me. It's a quote that inspires me to slow down and think. Because if I'm thinking about my thoughts, knowing they'll become my words, and if I'm thinking about my words, knowing they'll become my actions, then I am being thoughtful about who I am. And I'm being thoughtful about the people that I am supporting, being inspiring, speaking to, working with, whether it's clients or coworkers or managers or whatever. And I've needed that lesson my whole life. I always joke I wasn't born a good listener. And I am, I can be kind of a freight train in my actions. So really being intentional and purposeful has come from living my life by that quote.
That's a really great piece of information. I love it. Or really great quote. My gosh, my words have escaped me today. I really like that. And definitely the more you think about it, the more that it holds true. And it's definitely that waterfall effect that things just keep tumbling. And if you let them keep going, they're going to keep going. And it's going to basically change your life, either for the good or for the bad. So I really love that piece of advice. Jodi, if you want to take this time to plug where people can find you, plug your podcast, all that fun stuff.
Absolutely. So my website, Val, thank you, is www.jodispeakslife. And so it's JODI speakslife.com. And so you can find me and connect with me there as well. And then to your point, I also do have a podcast. So here with my fellow podcaster, Val, And my podcast is called The Thriving Equine Professional. I've spent so much of my career really primarily in the equine space. And so what we do over there is similar to what you do, Val, for the Dairy Hour. And that is to highlight careers and give some career advice so that our young people have options and opportunities that they may not know exist, and gain some advice they may not know they need. And so it's really trying to drive clarity in their opportunities and resources, confidence in their career choices, and connections that are going to help them motivate and move through the student to professional transition, and especially early career success. So that's the Thriving Equine Professional, and they can find that anywhere.
Awesome. And if they want to find you on, I know you're on Instagram. I don't know if you're on any other socials.
I am. I'm always quick to list LinkedIn first because I am very career focused for our young people. If you're not on LinkedIn and you want an industry career, you need to be on LinkedIn. And so start there. They can find me on LinkedIn. And then, yes, I have a presence on Insta and Facebook. I'm not all that fabulous with it, but I am there, and you can find me on Jodi Speaks Life.
Awesome. Jodi, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today on the Dairy Hour podcast. I don't think this will be the last that we hear from you, and I just want to thank you for your time and your expertise. It was really great talking to you. Have a great day, everybody.